Hello, knowledge seekers. In this episode of 20-Minute Books, we delve into Future Tense by Dr. Tracy Dennis-Tiwary, a groundbreaking book that challenges the common misunderstandings surrounding anxiety. Published in 2022, Future Tense argues compellingly that anxiety isn't necessarily negative. Rather, it's a vital source of information essential for our survival. This book encourages readers to reinterpret and harness anxiety as a tool rather than suppress it. Dr. Tracy Dennis-Tiwary, author and respected professor of psychology and neuroscience at Hunter College, City University of New York, draws on her extensive research and expertise to clarify how recognizing anxiety as a natural and informative emotion can significantly benefit how we cope with everyday stresses and challenges. As the director of the Emotion Regulation Lab and the Center for Health Technology and co-founder of WISE Therapeutics, Dr. Dennis-Tiwary's perspectives are enriched by both her academic and entrepreneurial ventures in mental health technology. Her work, celebrated in over 100 peer-reviewed scientific articles, has also featured prominently in major publications like the New York Times and the Washington Post. Future Tense is a must-read for anyone who directly experiences anxiety or cares for someone who does, including parents concerned about their children's emotional wellness and individuals deeply interested in psychology. This book offers profound insights into redefining an often misunderstood emotion, showing us how to turn anxiety into an ally. Join us as we explore how embracing our anxieties can lead to more resilient and fulfilling lives. Future Tense: Why Anxiety is Good for You, Even Though It Feels Bad. Introduction. Understanding anxiety, more than just nerves. Feeling anxious from time to time is a universal human experience, one that's often unpleasant and seemingly intrusive. Yet, what if we considered anxiety not just as a hindrance, but as a potentially useful tool in our mental toolkit? The concept may seem alien, but reflecting on our anxiety and understanding its message can potentially offer valuable insights. This approach suggests a paradigm shift. Stop fighting your anxiety and start listening to what it's trying to tell you. Anxiety often acts as a natural alert system. It's akin to a well-meaning friend who taps you on the shoulder when something isn't quite right. Yes, it can be overzealous at times, bringing unease when there's no real threat, but it can also be a crucial informant about risks that warrant attention. This overview will explore how to recognize when anxiety is serving you and when it might be leading you astray. Here you'll discover strategies to identify when anxiety is beneficial and when it is merely noise, why avoiding potentially triggering situations can sometimes exacerbate fears rather than alleviate them, and insights into how your specific anxieties can guide your decisions and actions toward a more fulfilling path. By reframing your relationship with anxiety, you can shift from enduring it to engaging with it in a way that enriches your decision-making process and overall well-being. Part 1. Rethinking Anxiety. When coping strategies backfire. Imagine the familiar sensations of anxiety: a fluttering in your stomach, your heart racing, your throat tightening, and a storm of worrying thoughts that circle relentlessly. This psychological and physical experience often arises not from what is happening, but from what we fear might happen. Anxiety manifests both as bodily sensations, tension, restlessness, agitation, and as mental patterns like fear, worry, and dread. While anxiety varies in intensity, most of us can muster the internal dialogue to manage and alleviate its immediate effects, restoring a sense of comfort. Yet, the real challenge emerges not from the anxiety itself, but from the ways we choose to handle it. Too often, the strategies employed to cope or sidestep anxiety only serve to compound its power, transforming manageable anxiety into a debilitating disorder. Consider this statistic: about 20% of adults in the United States, which is more than 60 million people, live with an anxiety disorder annually. Across a lifetime, 31% of American adults will deal with an anxiety disorder at least once. Yet, despite seeking therapy, less than half experience lasting improvements. Let's dissect why through the story of Kabir, a 15-year-old student who developed crippling anxiety. Initially just nervous about speaking in class, Kabir's handling of his anxiety, avoiding eating and sleep before presentations, eventually skipping school and withdrawing from social life, exacerbated his stress to the point of severe panic attacks and multiple anxiety disorders, including social anxiety and generalized anxiety disorder. His ways of coping, avoidance, and isolation did not neutralize his anxiety, they intensified it. Kabir's story illustrates a critical point. The problem isn't the anxiety itself. The issue lies in how he responded to it. As we delve deeper, we'll explore alternative coping mechanisms that do not just aim to avoid anxiety, but engage with it constructively to prevent it from escalating into a more severe condition. Part 2. Embracing anxiety as an ally in challenging times. Consider a scenario like the Trier Social Stress Test, or TSST, where participants are primed for intense anxiety. This test, used widely in research, involves giving a speech and solving complex math problems under the stern gaze of critical judges. The setup is daunting, inducing stress and discomfort universally, yet it's particularly taxing for those with social anxiety. Now, imagine if prior to this stress test, participants were guided to reinterpret their natural anxiety responses. This experiment was pursued by Harvard researchers in 2013, who instructed individuals to see their anxiety as a sign of readiness and energy, a physiological boon that our ancestors relied on for survival. The results of this reframe were striking. Participants prepped with this positive outlook on anxiety reported feeling more at ease and confident during the TSST. Moreover, their physical responses supported this mentality. They exhibited more relaxed blood vessels and steadier heart rates, suggesting a healthier way of managing stress. This transformative experiment illuminates a profound lesson. Altering our perceptions of anxiety can fundamentally change our experience of it. Anxiety, traditionally viewed as a disruptive force, can be reimagined as a supportive ally in our endeavors, particularly when faced with challenges. Thus, the narrative about anxiety needs a shift. Rather than viewing it as an antagonist, we should approach it with curiosity and openness. By understanding and accepting the role of anxiety as described in scientific studies, as a helper rather than a hindrance, we can turn our anxious reactions into tools for success. This mindset doesn't require you to enjoy or seek out anxiety. It merely advocates for a recognition of its potential benefits, allowing you to engage with challenging tasks more healthily and effectively. Part 3. Navigating through unnecessary anxiety. Anxiety often gets lumped together with fear, but they're not quite the same. Fear is an instinctual, immediate reaction to a present danger, like pulling your hand away when you unexpectedly touch something furry in a dark attic. It's straightforward and resolves quickly once the danger, such as a harmless attic mouse, is understood and dealt with. Anxiety, by contrast, lingers and festers. It's the dread you feel when you think about reaching into another box, haunted by the memory of the first scare. It's rooted in anticipation, often about things that may never occur, making it a far more complex and enduring emotion. While anxiety can be informative and motivating, pointing us to areas of our life that need attention or action, it often overstays its welcome, especially when there's nothing immediate we can do. Recognizing when anxiety is actionable and when it is not is essential. For instance, if you're worrying about a work presentation, understanding that this anxiety could drive you to prepare thoroughly is useful. However, fretting over a medical result that's out of your control serves no practical purpose other than increasing your stress. Here, anxiety becomes an obstacle, not an aid. In situations where anxiety is not immediately actionable, one effective strategy is to consciously decide to put it aside temporarily. This doesn't mean repressing or ignoring your feelings, but choosing to engage with them later. when perhaps they might not even be as intense. One therapeutic way to set aside overwhelming, unactionable anxiety is to immerse yourself in the present. For example, a walk in nature can be immensely grounding. As you observe the minute details of the natural world, your mind is pulled away from anxious thoughts and redirected toward the present moment, the colors, shapes, and textures around you. Music, too, can captivate your attention and offer a mental escape, providing a respite from cyclical anxious thoughts. Ultimately, addressing unnecessary anxiety involves a delicate balance of awareness, acceptance, and proactive mental engagement. By understanding when your anxiety is a helpful tool and when it's an unhelpful noise, you can better navigate your emotional world and focus on living more fully in the present. Part 4. Building Resilience in Children. Beyond Overprotection. Trigger warnings, those brief advisories at the start of content that might distress some viewers, are familiar to anyone who watches movies or engages with media. Initially rooted in online communities, their use has surged in educational settings, raising a contentious debate. Some educators believe that these warnings help students prepare mentally for upsetting subjects, while others argue they encourage avoidance of challenging topics, ultimately undermining emotional resilience. Recent studies shed light on this debate, suggesting that trigger warnings might heighten anxiety rather than alleviate it. A 2018 experiment involving literary passages of varying distress levels demonstrated that participants forewarned about disturbing content reported increased anxiety, particularly those who believe that words can be inherently harmful. This raises concerns that trigger warnings might not only fail to protect, but could also hinder emotional growth. The inclination to shield children from distress extends beyond the classroom. Many parents, driven by a natural desire to protect their offspring, inadvertently act as emotional buffers, preventing their children from experiencing anything remotely upsetting. However, this protective instinct, though well-meaning, can stifle essential developmental growth. Humans, like their immune systems, thrive on a certain level of exposure to challenges. It's through facing and managing discomfort that children learn resilience and creativity. Avoidance, whether by overprotective parenting or societal measures like trigger warnings, can deny them the chance to develop these critical skills. For instance, a child with a fear of flying isn't helped in the long term if the family avoids planes entirely. Instead, they miss the opportunity to confront and manage their fears. Similarly, a child anxious about social separation doesn't benefit from constant parental presence, but rather needs gradual exposure to independent scenarios to overcome their anxieties. Effective parenting supports children in developing coping strategies for their anxieties, not in avoiding them. For example, rather than excusing a child from school due to separation anxiety, a parent might affirm the child's ability to cope, reinforcing their capacity to handle uncomfortable emotions. Similarly, a child apprehensive about unfamiliar guests can be gradually exposed to social situations in a controlled and supportive way. In summary, while the instinct to protect our children from harm is natural, it's crucial to balance this with opportunities for them to face and overcome adversities. True resilience comes not from avoiding challenges, but from learning to navigate them, ensuring our children grow into capable, confident adults, ready to handle whatever life throws their way. Part 5. Leveraging anxiety to find and follow your purpose. Anxiety often gets a bad rap as a purely negative force in our lives, typically associated with fears and compulsions that lead to unproductive cycles of behavior. However, what if we viewed anxiety not as a barrier, but as a guidepost to better understanding our deepest motivations and values? At its core, anxiety is tied to the brain's reward system, which drives us toward pleasure and satisfaction. Rather than merely steering us away from potential threats, anxiety can propel us toward fulfilling experiences and achievements. This perspective suggests that anxiety, when channeled correctly, can be a meaningful tool in our quest for a purposeful life. Take, for instance, the story of a researcher who credits her anxiety for the success in establishing her lab. It was her underlying anxious energy that fueled her relentless curiosity, meticulous organization, and the persistence required to achieve her goals. Her anxiety wasn't a blockade, but a motivator that kept her aligned with her purpose. To harness anxiety in this positive light, you might consider engaging in self-affirmation exercises. Such practices aren't just about self-improvement cliches. They involve deep reflection on personal values and priorities that define and fulfill you. Stanford University researchers have developed this technique, which involves identifying and writing extensively about top personal attributes drawn from various domains such as artistic skills, relationships, social abilities, creativity, or business acumen. By consciously acknowledging these qualities, you encourage a positive emotional and physiological response. This not only counteracts the immediate effects of anxiety, but also leads to longer-term benefits such as improved mood, sharper focus, enhanced learning, more rewarding relationships, and even better physical health. Thus, when anxiety arises, rather than shying away or engaging in repetitive and fruitless behaviors, ask yourself, what is this feeling directing me towards? What essential parts of my life am I neglecting or undervaluing that are causing this distress? Reflecting on these questions can turn anxiety from a foe into an ally that not only points you in the right direction, but also provides the momentum to get there. In doing so, you transform your anxiety into courage, using it as fuel to pursue meaningful actions. Like a trusted guide, anxiety doesn't walk the path for you but sets you on your way. It's up to you to take the steps forward, finding purpose and satisfaction in living a life that truly resonates with your personal values and aspirations. Final summary. As we conclude our exploration of Future Tense by Tracy Dennis-Tiwary, it's clear that anxiety, often viewed negatively, is actually a crucial component of our emotional spectrum designed to aid in survival and adaptation. The key takeaway here is transformative. Anxiety is not merely a state to be avoided, but a dynamic tool, evolved to help us navigate potential challenges and optimize our reactions to various situations. Instead of seeking ways to suppress this feeling, we benefit more from understanding and harnessing it to plan and prepare effectively for the future. Furthermore, a vital piece of advice offered in the book encourages us to pursue excellencism over perfectionism. Perfectionism directs our focus toward unattainable standards, fostering relentless self-critique upon any perceived failure. In contrast, excellencism is about setting high but achievable goals and viewing failures as opportunities for growth and learning. This approach prompts us to embrace new experiences and creative problem-solving methods, which aligns with healthier emotional and psychological functioning. Remember to rate this summary and share any feedback you have. Your thoughts are invaluable as we continue to deliver content that enriches and enlightens. Thank you for joining me today on this journey of learning and discovery as we explored the insights of another thought-provoking book in our growing library of knowledge. If you've enjoyed our time together, please take a moment to follow our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and share 20-minute books with other knowledge seekers. Your support truly means a lot. Don't forget to join me again in the next episode, where we will delve into another enriching book. Until then, happy reading and happy listening.